I wanted to pop on today and share with you all a little bit about the panic attack that I had last night. Now, it has been years since my body has gone into kind of a full on panic attack behavior. And I thought it would be really helpful if I, in some ways, kind of deconstructed what happened for me as a way of modeling what we can do when our body starts to go into a state of activation and we start to feel a panic attack, whatever degree or level that might be. We start to maybe feel dissociation. And so I'm just going to walk you all through this experience and break it down from the feelings, the sensations, and the responses. Okay, so we're in bed, my honey and we're winding down for the evening, and everything's just normal and chill, just doing our usual nighttime routines. And one of the favorite things that my lover does when we're starting to fall asleep, he says, "Let me hold you." And I love this because for me, of course, it's the literal, like curling up into his arms, but it's also and the metaphor of that. There are so many ways in which my partner holds me in our lives together. And so this is one of my favorite moments. And I scoot in and we're spooning. He's the big spoon, I'm the little spoon. And we're getting all cozy and getting all our pillows just right and our blankets just right. This is something we do, pretty much every single night, how we fall asleep together. Okay, so I'm snuggled in and I start to notice that I'm having a hard time taking a breath. And in fact, I become very conscious of my breathing. Now, most of the time, y'all, we're not really paying attention to our breath. It's just an automatic behavior. It's something that we don't think about, right? But when my awareness started to become really focused on the breath, I knew in that moment, okay, something's going on here. Because if I'm noticing something wrong with my breath, then something's not working in my body. And my breath started to be really shallow. It was like I couldn't take a full breath in. And so I name out loud with my partner, "I'm having a hard time breathing right now." And my breaths were like this. Like I just couldn't get like a full regular breath. And there was a little bit of panting. And I was feeling a little bit of pressure and a little bit of pain in my side. And so, we started going to a very cognitive place, like, why might that be? And what's going on? And, we did a lot of gardening this weekend. I was like, maybe I have some dirt in my throat or in my lungs from all the dust and everything, and it's affecting my breathing. And so I'm thinking about it. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to try to take some deep breaths. So I start to do that process, and I'm still having a hard time really inhaling enough air. But I inhale and then I try to release with a little bit of sound. This often soothes me and comforts me. And so I started there with a little bit of sound. But can you all hear, like, I can actually access the sound? Fully present. This is how it sounded last night. Like stunted, stuck. And so my next move was my partner had his arm fully wrapped around me, and I was feeling like, I feel like I'm a little suffocating. This feels a little too tight. And so I said, "Honey, can you move your hand and just put it on my rib cage and just put some pressure there?" Now, this is important because I want you all to know that there are many times in my life when I've been having somatic responses or I've been having certain thoughts or feelings, and I just wouldn't say anything. I would be embarrassed or like, I don't want to create a problem, blah, 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 like all that nonsense, right? So I would just lay there and suffer. I'm like, shit, I'm over that, okay? I'm like, I'm not comfortable. This isn't working. And so he puts his hand on my rib cage and starts to just apply some pressure, and that felt really good. So there's another tool. For me, compaction. A little bit of pressure will sometimes lead me to just feeling more relaxed. I would say if I were to guess what's going on there, there's a place of like kind of safety. But you could see like when he had his arms fully around me, even though that was some pressure and compact, that felt too constrictive. Okay, now what's super, super important here is at no point in this process am I trying to figure out why is this happening. I'm not trying to dissect it. I'm not trying to like pinpoint why is this starting? What's going on? I'm just noticing. And I'm adjusting and paying attention. Okay, would that help? Would that help? This is critical because most of the time when people start to have these little panic attacks, or sometimes they're not little, I get it, when you start to have the panic attack and a somatic response, you know, it can feel scary. It is scary. Not being able to breathe is scary. But we start to immediately try to figure out what's causing this. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Why is this happening? And that is the exact wrong place to go when that's going on. Because we can't dissect it, we can't problem solve it, we can't understand it until we get our system back into a state of regulation. And so I noticed that my breath wasn't really changing, I wasn't feeling any better, and so I sat up. And I sat with he was still curved as Big Spoon, and so I actually faced the wall and put my back into the little curve of his body. I wanted a little bit of like connection there, but I didn't really want to be touched. So I said, babe, I think just hold me like this for now, and I'm gonna start taking some rapid breaths. And I said out loud, I think I'm having a panic attack. Now, my partner is very trauma informed. I'm very blessed and very lucky in this way. And so he doesn't get scared. He doesn't try to problem solve it either in the way of like, why is this happening? And oh my gosh, and blah, blah, blah. He doesn't minimize or dismiss it like, oh, get over it. I'm sure you're just making, like, none of that happens. He just sits with me in it. And he says, how about some deep breaths? So he starts taking some deep breaths, and I'm trying to match him a little bit. And that's helpful because mirror neurons and co-regulation is a very real thing. So I'm listening to his deep breaths, but my body is just not there yet. And so I said, babe, I'm just going to take some fast breaths. And so I started to do that. And I just let my body do what it wanted to do. And so I started to breathe like this. Now, that may seem really strange. And I started to move my arms a little bit, started to get back into my body. Stretching is one of the best ways for me to like chill out and to relax. So I just start moving, and I'm just paying attention to that deep breath. Those rapid breaths. So rather than like what we often are told to calm down is to take a deep breath, right? But this can sometimes put too much constriction on the neck, which actually puts constrictions on these vessels, which can cause your brain and your body to think that you're being like hurt, right? Constricted. And so not forcing myself to take a deep breath in that moment was super, super important. Still not trying to understand why this is happening, not shaming or blaming myself that it's happening, just looking for how to self-soothe and how to comfort myself, and drawing from my toolkit, going through the steps. And when something isn't quite working, not freaking out about that, just being in the flow of where I need to go next. And so those little rapid breaths started to feel a little bit more settled. And what I noticed is then I could start to take just still a shallow in breath, but then my exhale was starting to get a little more complete. So then I started to do a short inhale and a long exhale. Okay. And that, my body started to feel a little melty. I was like, okay, we're coming back. And in that moment, I was able to open my eyes because, by the way, this entire time, my eyes were closed. So I was a little bit in a freeze state, right? My body was a little bit tense. And so when my eyes opened and my body melted a little bit, I was coming out of that freeze state. Okay. From that, I started to use a tool that I learned from Irene Lyon, who's amazing. And I use it, and it's based in somatic experiencing called orienting. And so I began to orient to my space. So I just began to take in my room. I'm looking around, but very, very slowly. When we move our eyes in a very slow pace like this, it really tells the body and the brain that we're safe. When we're activated, our eyes, we either shut our eyes or our eyes are darting about. We're doing this kind of stuff. Yeah, because think about it, like if you're activated, your system's literally saying like, how do I get away, or how do I fight, or where is the weapon that I'm going to grab to like defend myself. And so the eyes move very quickly. So when we intentionally slow down the eyes, it helps the parasympathetic nervous system, activates the vagus nerve, tells the brain and the body we're safe. So I'm noticing this. And then all of a sudden, my entire upper body just shook. And I'm going to try to do this without knocking the camera too much, but it was really like that, a little bit faster. And, it was a little like, whoa, not the most natural movement, not a movement that I would make on my own. And that truly, fully was just a somatic experience of a release of trauma. There wasn't any cognition there. There wasn't any, I'm going to stretch and like move my body this way because that would feel good. Nope. My body just took over and I let it. This is so, so critical. I let it. And again, I didn't judge it. I didn't shame it. I just said, ooh, okay, body, you needed to do a little shake, a little something, a little wiggle. Okay. And then my breath came back to its just fully natural state. So I wasn't thinking about my breath anymore. I wasn't having to regulate my breath in any way. I wasn't needing to take deep breaths. I was just breathing. And so then I just sat, still pressed up against my partner, by the way. And what I love about my guy is during this entire process, he's just resting. He just closes his eyes and he even starts to snore a little. He's like falling asleep because, of course, one of the things that he knows is that I have a lot of tools in my toolkit, and if I need more support, I'm going to tap him. I'm going to wake him up. But I was really doing okay, and just having his body close to me was really what I needed in that moment, and that was good enough. In the past, I would get very frustrated with partners who wouldn't be like fully present and there with me. I would start to judge them or shame them. That's a whole story for another day. But anyway, so I'm coming back to my natural self. Now that my body is in a state of regulation again, now I can start to think a little bit about, where did that come from? Sometimes we can figure out and pinpoint, sometimes we can't. And quite honestly, like I thought, well, it's been a very full 3 days. I've had an unusual 3 days where I've been working with my partner in his landscaping and gardening business on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Like 7-hour days, like being in the dirt and crawling around and moving. And so that took me a little bit out of my, what I think of as my protocols. I talk about this all the time with my clients. Just like we have things that we do on a regular basis that keep our muscles strong, keep our body in shape. We need to do things on a regular basis that really just help nurture the nervous system. And my schedule was quite disrupted. And I was doing a lot of physical labor and a lot of things that I don't normally do. And my eating was really different because I was just eating really fast, and then, and I wasn't maybe drinking enough water, so my body got dehydrated. So these are all possible reasons, right, that I just was out of my routines. I dropped some of my protocols. It's possible that, in that moment, in whatever position we were in on this particular night, that hit something in me, an old trauma. But I don't have any clear conscious, like I don't have this happened because blank. And that's okay. Honestly, I could care less, because in so many ways, the only thing that really matters is how I responded. and being able to move through that moment with awareness and mindfulness and skill and tool and grace and kindness and patience and reassuring myself, asking for what I needed in these moments. Okay, so I hope this is really helpful, because I've been doing this work for a very, very long time. Like I said, it's been a super, super long time since I've had this kind of activation where I really had to, like, whoa, okay, something's going on. But so it happens to all of us. In other words, I just want to normalize that, right? Trauma healing, when I talk about being beyond surviving, it's not that you don't have moments, it's that they become few and far between, right? This doesn't happen to me all the time, which it certainly used to. And not only did it certainly used to happen to me all the time, but I did not have this toolkit. I did not have this process. I did not have this self-awareness. And so they would escalate, and these panic attacks would spiral out of control because I didn't know how to really take care of myself in these moments. So beyond surviving really is about being able to minimize how often our system goes into states of activation. And then when it does, being able, okay, we're going for a ride. All right, let's go. And let's just let the body and the brain and the breath do what it needs to do and use interventions so we can take care of ourselves. So, long story short, I wanted to share this with you all today because I think it's helpful. I hope it's helpful to really hear the step-by-step process, both like what I was thinking, what I was feeling, what I was doing, and maybe you can take some of these things and add them to your toolkit and use them next time you're feeling activated or having a panic attack. So we'd love to hear your questions and your comments, and I hope you all have a good day. And I want to just also final thought, like, I'm fine today. That's the other thing. Like, I'm not still here ruminating about it or obsessing about it or worrying about it. It was just a moment when my body went into a state of dysregulation. Okay, and now what's next? Because today is the new day. There's no need to sit and like hyper analyze it and try to dissect it down to its finest point and trying to figure out the exact why it happened. I can actually sit in a place of comfort today and ease because I was able to take that time to do the nervous system regulation that I needed to do right on the spot. So love you all, here for you in this journey. I know it's not always easy. Sometimes I feel like I have these experiences as good reminders of like what it feels like and what we have to do. And I'm just standing with you all in this process of healing. And if there's anything that I can do to be a support to you, I'm here. Take real good care. I'll see you again soon.